If you had the luck to grow up on a farm like I did, you probably remember the joys of playing in the woods. Building forts, taking hikes, or collecting plants not only allows children an opportunity for fresh air, it also stimulates their imagination and curiosity. But as video games and television became more important in the lives of our children, they have less and less time to spend in nature. An author called Richard Liu thinks that our children are suffering from nature deficit disorder. In Liu's book, The Last Child in the Woods, he argues that kids are so plugged into television and video games that they've lost their connection to the natural world. He believes that the hunter-gatherer is still very much a part of our collective psyche, and that people need nature in order to develop fully as human beings. While video games and television may have some educational purpose, they do not allow for the full use of the senses. The sights, the sounds, the smells, and the textures of the woods allow children to experience the world in ways that video games cannot. Playtime in the woods, Liu argues, is necessary in order to become a happy, healthy human being. One of the byproducts of living in a throwaway society is that our children spend a lot of time in automobiles eating fast foods from disposable containers. They also spend most of their time indoors in front of television, computers, and video games. Not only do these activities contribute to the continual pollution of the environment, but they also contribute to a more sedentary, less active, and therefore less healthy lifestyle. Our junk food diet can also have many negative effects on our children. Hormone residues in commercial beef products could be a contributing factor to early onset puberty in girls, while bovine growth hormone has been linked to increased risk of cancer. Obesity is an epidemic in the United States, especially among our children. According to the American Diabetes Association's current estimate, 1 in 3 children born in 2000 will be at a risk for diabetes. We've taught our children to sacrifice nutrition for the sake of convenience, and now we're reaping what we've sown. Of course, diet isn't the only source of problems for our children. Teen suicide is becoming more common every year in the United States. Could it be that one of the causes of the increase in teen suicide is that our teens have discovered that buying more stuff isn't the key to happiness? Media messages bombard our children with the idea that if they have the right clothes, listen to the right music, eat the right food, and drink the right sodas, they'll be happy and popular. Our children are given the illusion that happiness lies in owning and consuming more. And when they buy more and more material goods in a quest for happiness and popularity, they discover that these things didn't make them any happier. And of course, then the impact can be devastating. The influence that television and mass media have on our children is so great that the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that children 2 years old and younger shouldn't watch television at all. After the age of 2, the recommended maximum is 1 hour a day. But in the real world, children go to school and have friends with televisions, video games, and material goods. How can you raise a child to want to live sustainably without becoming a family of hermits? One way is to teach them to occupy their time with activities that offer environmental opportunities for interaction and learning and personal growth. You can find local environmental organizations that offer activities for children. And by taking your children to such activities, they'll meet new friends who've been taught similar lessons about sustainability and the environment. And of course, if there aren't any such organizations in your area, why not start one? What better way to get your children involved in environmental issues than by having them participate in creating a green organization for children? And of course, the more green events you can attend that are family-friendly, the more opportunities your children will have to interact with positive role models and peer influencers. Don't forget that children learn more by example than by what you tell them. So if you want to raise green children, you have to live a green lifestyle yourself. As my children got older, I was often pleasantly surprised when they showed me that they were paying attention after all, even though at times it felt like I was talking to a post. They're watching and paying attention more than you know. And if they see you expressing concern for the environment, then they will too. Be a good example, and you and your children will reap the rewards. Deep ecology is the principle that humanity cannot be separated from the environment, that human beings and nature are one and the same. Somewhere along the way, humankind seems to have forgotten that we aren't separate from nature. The Norwegian philosopher Arne Naess coined the phrase deep ecology in 1973. Deep ecology basically is just a philosophy of ecology and green living. In Naess's opinion, the science of ecology is a separate entity from the philosophy of ecology. While the science of ecology concerns itself with facts and figures regarding the environment, deep ecology examines the philosophical underpinnings of learning to live with nature. The goal of deep ecology is to formulate an ethical basis for living that is environmentally sound. Naess didn't think that organisms could be ranked in terms of their importance. He believed that humankind saw itself as the pinnacle of evolution only because it is humans who do the ranking. While we think that we are the height of civilization and intelligence, could it possibly be that other organisms are ahead of us in this regard? Most organisms eventually find a state of equilibrium with their environment, living in harmony with their respective biospheres. But the human race tends to overwhelm and destroy the environment in which it lives. Our Judeo-Christian religious underpinnings define humans as superior to other beings because we have souls, or so we assume. However, who's to say that animals don't have souls as well? Even the word animal comes from the Latin word for soul, anime. We also tend to think that we are the only beings who have consciousness and self-awareness. But since we're the ones who define what those phrases mean, are we accurate? A lot of recent research, especially work by scientists like Jane Goodall and Franz de Waal, who work with primates, would seem to indicate that some of the higher primates have a measure of self-awareness and consciousness as well. Douglas Adams, the author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, said that humans feel themselves superior to dolphins because all dolphins do all day is swim and play in the ocean. And dolphins feel themselves superior to humans for exactly the same reason. Naess says that the rights of all forms of life to live is a universal right, which can't be quantified. No single species of living being has more of this particular right to live and unfold than any other species. What this means is that humankind is not separate from nature, and our personal philosophies should not reflect the idea that we are somehow above nature or superior to it. Taking this broader view of the world around us, we can see that sustainable living is more than just the things we do. It's a philosophy of life as well. If we learn to respect nature, maybe even to hold all living things as sacred in some way, then our lives and our actions will automatically fall in line with deeper ecological principles. So deep ecology is about making a paradigm shift towards a way of life that is in harmony with nature. If we view ourselves as somehow separate from nature, then green living seems to be just another task to accomplish on our daily list of activities. But if we see ourselves as part of nature, then it becomes apparent that what we do to nature, we are ultimately doing to ourselves as well. Deep ecology and Druidry come from a similar philosophical framework, and the Druids consider all life to be sacred and interconnected, and that ultimately we are all one. Druidry in the Black Mountain Order is more than just a sound principle. Like deep ecology, Druidry in our order should be a way of life. I believe that the deep reverence that Druidry holds for nature makes it one of the many earth-centered philosophies that, if adopted, will allow us as a society to make the paradigm shift necessary to live in harmony with nature. We all interact with the environment whether or not we are Druids, and the environment interacts with us. The messages we get from our environment have an impact on us, whether or not we are consciously aware of the impact. It changes our sense of self and our sense of well-being. When I first started speaking in public on the topic of Druids living in sustainable ways, there was a great deal of interest in sustainable living, but there was also a lot of resistance. A lot of the comments I got were along the lines of, "What you say sounds great, but I just don't see myself being able to make that kind of change right now." Or, "Wow, that sounds expensive." Even though it's not really more expensive to live sustainably if you know what you're doing. Or, "How could anybody ever live like that?" So people thought sustainability was a great idea, but they saw it as something that didn't have time to work into their already busy schedules. It was after hearing these comments that I realized that what we needed was a complete paradigm shift. When I speak of a paradigm shift, I'm talking about a fundamental change in the way we view life. I mean a change in values, a new way of thinking about what's important. Instead of simply adding a few green living tasks to your daily agenda, try re-examining your assumptions about the world and your place in it. Think about how you could interact with the environment around you. If you could start all over from scratch and build a sustainable lifestyle based on the principles of Druidry, what would you do? Ultimately, what happens to the earth happens to its inhabitants. We are all part of the many circles that make up the greater circle of life, and the earth is our home. What we do to the earth, we do to ourselves. In the long run, sustainable living means treating ourselves in a better way by treating our home, the earth, in a better way. I think this green revolution will be a bottom-up rather than a top-down revolution. Passing laws forcing people to live more sustainably will only cause dissension and backlash. However, as people begin to see that living sustainably is more economical, more enjoyable, and that it creates more free time, they'll begin to make the switch. I believe that there will be a great spiritual movement that will guide us back to a way of living that is more in harmony with nature. I also believe that Druidry as practiced by our order will be one of the nature religions that lead us to such a new bottom-up revolution. The ancient Druids believed that if they didn't continue to sing the world into existence at every solstice, that eventually the world would cease to exist. As modern Druidry continues to grow, and more voices are added to the chorus calling for a return to the natural way of living, our singing in this way is creating the world anew. And I firmly believe that if the voices that speak for Mother Nature ever cease to sing, then the earth will truly cease to exist. Hi, this is Shenka. If you're enjoying these videos, please don't forget to subscribe. You can also click that little bell icon to be informed when we release a new video. We try to release a new one every Thursday. Also, if you'd like to keep up to date on my music, my videos, and my books, you can visit shenkaskane.com, that's SENCHASKENE.com. For information on the Black Mountain Druid Order's work, you can visit blackmountaindruidorder.com. Thanks again for watching. Hope to see you soon.